on Westbrook. McDaniel's third year out of Washington. Go to the line to try to complete the three-point play.
Oh no! We suck again!
The Los Angeles Lakers last year arguably had the most disappointing season in franchise history, as in total they only won 33 games. That was with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and a star-studded roster. That was a massive failure and utter faceplant for Lakers management. And you would think with that being the case, heading to next year, they would fill some holes and have a roster overhaul. Mainly looking at defense as well as shooting, as last year LA was 22nd in three-point shooting and 28th in overall defensive points per game. And looking at their offseason, the main guys they signed were Lonnie Walker, who is a worse version of Malik Monk, who they lost. They got JTA, a solid role player, Thomas Bryant, an underrated center, and their biggest piece was Patrick Beverley.
Downtown Minnesota going crazy right now, Kenny.
Man,
Oh my goodness.
man, I tell you, they're going to burn the streets down.
The champion.
Now, Pat Bev is the one defensive piece and the one difference maker for this Lakers team. The only problem being, on your roster, you have his immortal rival, that being Russell Westbrook, the one guy who does not want to be in LA. And looking at Patrick the play-in champion Beverley, is his defensive impact really going to change this roster so drastically? I know he's a very pesky defender, he's annoying, and quite frankly, he's one of the best on-ball defenders in the entire NBA. But when it comes to being a team leader and having an immense impact, Beverley in LA is not going to be Beverley in Minnesota. As back with the T-Wolves, he was playing with young bucks, and in LA, there's much more pressure, and he's playing with MVPs and multi-time champions. And Lakers fans, please look away, but Rob Pelinka just signed an extension through 2026 after assembling this roster, which is extremely dysfunctional. That right there is rubbing salt in the wound and an insult to every Lakers fan. To sum it up pretty quickly, this Lakers team is done before they even get out of the gate. I'm not saying they won't be exciting, they won't put up some stats. I'm not even saying LeBron, AD, and Russ won't have good individual seasons. What I'm saying, as a collective unit fitting together, being a championship team, from Jump Street, this team is bust.
Sad.
And if you want to look at on-the-court play, watching the Lakers team, specifically on offense, their spacing still is atrocious. And for Westbrook, I'm not going to blame him entirely, as individually, he's a good player and on his own team will be very effective. But for LA offensively, he's a mini Ben Simmons that clogs the lane and makes post-ups 10 times more difficult for someone like Anthony Davis. And simply putting Westbrook in the corner or the short corner, while it does maximize some spacing, compared to other teams, it's still dreadful. And for someone like Anthony Davis, who can't score outside 10 feet, his jumper's gone, his legs are gone, I don't see him being very effective as a post-up player in this particular offense. And looking at LeBron James, who's 37 going on 38, he's still this team's best player, and their offense at this point is high pace and high intensity. And speaking of LeBron James, one of his common themes throughout his 20-year career is playing with veterans as well as space. And looking at LA's pickups, Lonnie Walker shoots 31% from deep, JTA shoots 32%, Beverley 34%, and Thomas Bryant 29%. None of those players are great shooters or have championship experience. I guess you could say Juan Toscano, but in the playoffs and the finals, he played very few, if any, minutes. And once again, looking at who LA lost, that being Carmelo and Malik Monk, last year, they are their best shooters and their best heat check players coming off the bench. Now, speaking of the bench, that brings us to head coach Darvin Ham, who I hope has some stones and is serious about winning some games. As if he is, Russell Westbrook at some point will be playing off the bench and running with a second unit. If you want to be pretty simple about it, Westbrook with bench players compared to starters is a much more effective player and a better floor raiser. And playing with bench players, 90% of the time, he'll be the primary ball handler and the guy who is dictating the offense. He won't be standing in the corner playing off ball and out of the flow. The ball will be in his hands for good or bad, and he'll dictate who's shooting, who's getting lobs, and who's scoring at the basket and around the rim. And I know for someone like Westbrook coming off the bench, it's kind of a pride thing as a former MVP, but at this point in his career, if he wants to win a championship and sacrifice for a team, I think this move is the next logical step for him as well as the Lakers. And if Westbrook is coming off the bench, that means LeBron and AD are going to go crazy with the two-man game and the pick and rolls, and it's going to be a flashback to 2020 when both those guys were the best duo in the entire NBA. And yes, I know it's 3 years later, AD's been hurt, LeBron is older, but still I take that two-man game over having Westbrook out there as a starter, having him in the corner, and clogging the lane for the Lakers' big man. And having LeBron on the court, once again running point guard, even at age 38, I trust him 10 times more than most players in the entire NBA. As his basketball IQ, as far as I can tell, hasn't slipped in the slightest, and his overall game is still very high, at least offensively. I think this version of LA could be a 50-win team and quite possibly make a second round appearance. That is only if Russell Westbrook can buy in and come off the bench and benefit the whole team. And one positive thing for LA heading to this year, in theory LeBron James and Anthony Davis should be rested, healthy, and ready to go. Cross your fingers, Lakers fans, but I hope both these guys are healthy and play upwards of 70 games. It's a tall task, but it's definitely not impossible. This Lakers team, at the minimum, should be in the playoffs in a 6 or 7 seed. And in theory, this Lakers roster is built for the playoffs and in all reality are a 7 or 8 man team. And if you're facing LeBron James in a 7-game series, regardless of age, he's going to grind you out, and he's always dangerous as well as intimidating. And like we saw last year, when it comes to playoffs, quite literally anything can happen. Injuries can strike, players can get cold, and some teams will roll over and give up. As looking around the West, you have the Clippers, who are also very injury prone. You have the Nuggets, who are just getting healthy. The Mavericks, who lost Brunson. The Suns, who are getting older, have chemistry problems, and quite frankly have hit a wall. Memphis, much like the Clippers, have 2 stars who are injury prone. And Utah, who was a playoff team last year, has traded all their assets. The absolute best case scenario for this Lakers team is making the playoffs with a mediocre record and somehow making a Cinderella run to the Western Conference Finals. That is the most optimistic version for this Lakers team, which I highly doubt will play out in reality. And going forward for this NBA season, one of the biggest storylines is LeBron James catching Kareem and beating him in all-time points. I think that storyline and that spectacle is bigger than the entire Lakers season. I know it, you know it, the players know it, the media knows it, and LeBron James specifically also knows this. Best of luck to Lakers fans, but this team once again is a walking disaster, and by mid-January could quite easily explode. As for 75 years of the NBA, it's changed a lot, but one thing remains consistent, and that's that when building a championship team, you can't just assemble talent, get 3 superstars, and expect it to work and win games. Nobody in NBA history can overcome chemistry, lack of fit, and win a ring. Not LeBron, not Kobe, not Jordan, not even Magic Johnson can win a championship with a roster that doesn't fit them and maximize their teammates' talent. And once again, I do find it pretty ironic. The guy who built this Lakers dumpster fire, Rob Pelinka, got a raise and extended till 2026. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.